Louise Hay was an American motivational author, professional speaker, and AIDS advocate. She authored several New Thought self help books, including the 1984 book You Can Heal Your Life, and founded Hay House Publishing. This is a person that has died on August 30th, 2017, and honestly, I don't know their full life's work. I know only what was linked to me by my friend who, just like me, suffer from migraines, and what she has linked rang such alarm bells for me that I decided that it could be a good idea for me to talk about it on a YouTube video rather than just privately make fun out of it on a Discord group. One thing that we tend to forget is that any person can be wrong and be right, that they can have ideas and thoughts and actions that are good and that actually progress a specific field, and then ideas, thoughts, and actions that are very detrimental to other people's health and well being. We tend to just characterize somebody as, oh, they have been good and they're a trustworthy author because I have read a couple books from them, or this is not a trustworthy author because I have read a couple books from them. It's rarely that simple. So, for all I know, she has written good work. For all I know, somewhere in there, there's just like a smidgen of great inspirational living that will really help get on with your day. Being a AIDS advocate is a good thing. Starting a nonprofit organizations is a good thing. For all I know, this person did contribute to humanity in quite a few ways. It's just that the contributions that I found about them would say otherwise. So don't take it as a white and black thing. Don't take it as me going, hey, this old lady that is dead for the past 7 years has done nothing but bad. Take it as exactly what's being put down in this video. So, today we're going to be talking about Emotional Causes of Disease by Louise Hay. This article really stood out to me mostly because some of methodology really reminds me of chaos magic sigil making and is somewhat related to that, and also, well, it's very harmful advice in most of this. When advice that is harmful is very obvious, and there will be quite a few statements that will be very obvious, and I'm gonna point them out when we come across them, it is a lot easier for people to identify this as harmful advice and not to spread it online. But some smaller issues, when people give similar advice for them, for example, migraines, harmful advice is more likely to come off as actual positive, good advice just because people haven't dug through the whole of article or haven't dug through like a whole book and hasn't seen other glaring holes. It is a lot more harmful when it is not all that obvious that it is harmful. That's why what I want to do here for the most part is read out the list for you. I'm gonna comment in parts. I'm gonna not do much commenting in other parts because I want you to be able to see why I consider this to be harmful, and then to, take the smaller things and compare them to the bigger things and realize why such advice doesn't really fly when you even try to apply it to the smaller things and, actually help people that are suffering with something in your life, because that is what all of us want to do, right? One thing that I'm gonna drive home is whenever you hear that something works, try to dig into exactly how it works, what kind of primary sources the author used, where it comes from, especially when it is concerning such things as physical health and mental health, especially when it comes from a person that is not a doctor and doesn't actually like deal with those subjects, but is more of a spiritual person. I'm telling you this because I see quite a few people that come to spirituality to fix their physical or mental problems, or attributing physical and mental problems to spirituality and therefore seeking spiritual solutions. Please always think about mundane, regular solutions for your problems. Don't go to a spiritual guru trying to cure cancer. That's not gonna help you. And the amount of time that you spend not dealing with the problem that you have, in some cases, will make the problem disastrously worse. In other cases, will just make you lose time. It is one of the self-help movement, new age spirituality, positive thinking, motivational speaking, all of those things. This is one of the things that really impact people when it comes to those things that we attribute positive connotations to, going, oh, self-help books are good, positive thinking is good, new age spirituality is good, until it turns toxic, until what you're doing is actually delaying you from actually going and getting help. So please, if you have problems, go through regular approved methods first. You can do something on the side, but go there, and when you're doing something on the side, really investigate where that thing on the side comes from. If you can't make any kind of logical conclusions where the author got their thinking process from, yeah, that's not a good sign. It's a sign that author pulled it out of their behind and published the book and sold it to you. It's not a sign that it's gonna, work. So let's get into the article reading. Louise Hay is one of the founders of self-help movements. She's an author and created a positive healing technique. Through Louise's healing methods and positive philosophy, millions of people have learned to form more of what they need in their lives, more wellness in their bodies, minds, and spirits. With statements such as these, please pay attention to a couple of things. First, millions of people, citation needed. You're pulling number, you're not telling me where the number comes from, have learned to form more of what they need in their lives. So this kind of reads as has learned this methodology. It doesn't necessarily mean apply this methodology to their life successfully. Louise was able to put her rationalities into hone when she was diagnosed with cancer. She considered surgery and drugs, but instead created a specific program of affirmations, visualization, wholesome cleansing, and psychotherapy. In 6 months, she recuperated from cancer. Cancer goes into remission. You don't tend to recuperate from cancer. Even if you're entirely clean from cancer, they tend to consider you to be in remission because you can just spring back up again. That's why normally stats are like, hey, this person has this kind of cancer. On average, this many people are still alive with this kind of cancer 5 years on. Remissions and lack of growth in cancerous cells can just happen. It could also be that she has gotten misdiagnosed, or that it wasn't a malicious cancerous growth, that there's benign growths that happen for some people. So there's all sorts of situations that she could have landed. Please, when you read statements like that, don't believe that somebody has eradicated a disease with the power of positive thinking. They might have gotten lucky. Don't stake your own life on it. That's not a good idea. Affirmations are short phrase or phrase that includes a verbal formula, repeated repetition of which the desired setting can fix in the person's subconscious. Use it to improve the overall psycho-emotional state and attune to the correct positive thinking. All fine and good, but the same thing has a flip side of where a lot of people that subscribe to positive thinking blame all of their problems on themselves because they just weren't thinking the right thoughts enough. It's not a good system to live by. Louise Hay's table is not a universal remedy, but its use by many people in the world gives different results. Many people, no quantity gives different results, not encouraging. It is worthwhile to understand and honestly believe the ability to change his state by merely changing his stereotypical thinking. Love is a great miracle cure. Self-love works wonders in our lives. Louise Hay. I hope that you did not advocate for cancer treatment with self-love. You can use the table of Louise Hay as follows. Find your disease in the list, analyze the events of your life lately, compare them with indicated reasons. Tune in to the changes. Repeat the installation of phrase repeatedly. I say goodbye to those thoughts that led me to the disease. Feel the meaning of the healing phrase as bright as possible. Implant it in the subconscious and also reinforce the words with an unquestioning faith in recovery. You're very unlikely to seek actual help from the doctors if you have unquestioning faith in recovery. That's red flags all around, just for me. Please pay attention to these kind of things. To consolidate the effect and the prevention of diseases, supplement the treatment with daily meditation. By following these simple rules, you quickly learn the essence of self-medication through affirmations. If you have never worked with positive settings, you should follow a few rules. Make the statement truly your own. It must necessarily contain the word I. Only positive. Without the use of phrases I do not want, I will not, and indeed without the particle not. That also comes for chaos magic sigils. Pronounce sentences in present tense. That also comes for chaos magic sigils. Do not just speak, but as if live affirmation. Make it as believable as possible. Use simple formulations. This should be as short as possible and at the same time meaningful. As with any undertaking in life, the necessary training and faith in the result are essential for applying the affirmation method. Only in this case will you succeed. The necessary training. That really sounds like she was trying to sell somebody a training course. So let's just look at what kind of diseases she's trying to treat, and as I'm gonna skip some of these, and I'm gonna tell you why when we come to it. Some of these are gonna be a lot less obvious. Some of these are gonna be a lot more obvious. When you're presented with bullshit, question the less obvious bits too, because, well, once again, if you only look at the less obvious bits, you can see it as very harmless. But if there isn't an underlying logical structure behind it, it's not gonna help anybody, and it can make it worse, especially when something that somebody has no actual obvious medical solution, so doctors actually direct you to self-help books, especially when doctors want to cut down costs in their hospitals and save on some book, and they will tell you of, have you tried thinking positive thoughts? It especially happens to people with pain disorders, because nobody wants to prescribe too much pain meds, as meds, do impact your body. So they will take you through grueling of, have you tried thinking the pain away? Have you tried being mindful? It is really not helpful for the patient going through. It is a lot more unhelpful when such things are being sent to them by their friends and family. It's something that a lot of people with less obvious disorders go through a lot, so please, when you see lists like that, do question them and do question where it comes from. Because even the lot less obvious things can be harmful, when a lot more obvious things, we can all point at it and state that it's harmful. And when you see a lot more obvious things, also, take the a lot less obvious things into consideration. Abdominal cramps. Fear, stopping the process. Logic behind the zero. Affirmation, I trust the process of life. I am safe. Now, stress can make your gut health worse and can make your digestive processes worse. If you're stressed, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're afraid or that you're stopping some sort of process. At the same time, if you have something like really wrong to you that's classified a bit above abdominal cramps, like you have an irritable bowel syndrome, you have Crohn's disease, or any other illness that involves the bowels, this won't really help. Well, it won't really help in general unless, of course, you were suffering from stress and thinking that you were stressed about causing some sort of stop in the process, and this alleviated some of your stress because you got in a more positive, peaceful thinking. Maybe in that case, it would be kind of helpful, but a lot of these things, they can have a lot more serious underlying issues. That's why they're not, it's not good to be putting this kind of material just into the open world. Abscess! Fermenting thoughts over hurts, slights, and revenge. Affirmation. I allow my thoughts to be free. The past is over. I am at peace. You might be at peace and still have your abscess. Accidents! Not a medical illness. Everybody will have accidents across their life. If you're having a lot of accidents in a short period of time, try and identify the common cause, like if you're suddenly less coordinated or finding yourself to be more clumsy. That is something to probably tell your family doctor or general practitioner, wherever in country you are, however that's called. Like, hey, I am struggling with my coordination. It came up quite suddenly. I spill coffee on myself about every single day. I started falling down quite a lot. It's hard for me to feel my legs and to move my legs. Those kind of things, they are important. But accidents in itself, not a disease. Skip. Aches. Aches? Aches. There we go. Hello. Hello, accent. Hello, non-natively English person. That is me. Aches and pains is also not a definition of a disease. That would be a random symptom, and it can have all sorts of causes. If you're too old, perhaps you slept wrong. You lied on your side for too long. You turned your neck wrong. The human body becomes kind of fragile, and spraining something becomes rather easy. Perhaps you have a joint disorder and that's why your joints hurt. Perhaps it was too cold or too hot. Not a disease. Adenoids. Family friction, arguments. Child feeling unwelcome in a way. Affirmation. This child is wanted and welcomed and deeply loved, and they could still have adenoids. No matter how loved they are, it's not just the unloved children that get them. Addictions! Running away from self, not facing the fear, not knowing how to love yourself. I now discover how wonderful I am. I choose to love and enjoy myself. People that fall into addictions will have all sorts of different reasons for it. Want of escape could be one of them. Choosing to love and enjoy yourself won't necessarily help you beat the addiction. Perhaps it will, because you need strength of will. You will probably need outside help, and you will probably need a reason to do this that will keep you away from what you're doing. It is very common to replace one addiction with other. It's a whole can of worms that's best handled by professionals and not people on the internet. Addison's disease, severe emotional malnutrition, anger at the self. I lovingly take care of my body, my mind, and my emotions. It's serious enough illness that should have raised red flags for everyone. Adrenal problems, defeatism, no longer caring for the self, anxiety. I love and approve of myself. It is safe for me to care for myself. Aging problems, everyone will have those. This lady died at 90, you bet she had aging problems. Social beliefs, old thinking, fear of being oneself, rejection of the now. I love and accept myself at every age. Each moment in life is perfect. Aging problems or disability issues or whatever you have will bring a lot of sad, hurt, anger, and disappointment depending on what you can still do and what you can't do anymore. It's something that's kind of hard to accept. You do accept it over time, like, hey, I can no longer go skateboarding. My body won't allow me. I know a man that takes his dog for walks, and sometimes I don't see him because I am either walking somewhere else or I walk at different times than he does. When we meet, he sometimes asks, oh, I haven't seen you in this park for so long time. Where have you been? I will sometimes tell him, oh, I was walking in the woods nearby, and he will tell me, it's a shame, but I can no longer walk in the woods because the uphill incline is too steep for me to be able to safely take a walk there. That is something that that person had to accept about themselves. It won't make the aging problem go away. It's just part of life. AIDS! She was an AIDS advocate. I really hope that she didn't use this for real. If you're a 21st century person, somebody telling you that they can cure AIDS with an affirmation should be the reddest flag out there. That is not how diseases work. We're gonna continue going down the list because we don't want to read such an insult. But please, don't be the person that sends this to their family member that has a very serious disease. It not only doesn't help them, but it doesn't respect them, nor their plight, nor their fight. It's hard enough without you trying to help with things that are unhelpful. Alcoholism or abuse. I hope that she's talking about alcoholism abuse because otherwise these things are definitely really different things. Futility, guilt, inadequacy, self-rejection. I live in the now. Each moment is new. I choose to see my self-worth. I love and approve of myself. A lot of people that fall into quite bad addictions do live in the present moment and live for the present moment and then look for ways to alleviate all the pains and horrifying things that come with the abuse of a specific drug or addiction, only to live in that present moment for a bit longer. What you're diagnosing them with is completely unrelated to how the addiction functions. Allergy and hay fever. You're allergic to someone who or yourself denies your power, irritated to life. The world is safe and friendly. I am safe. I am at peace with life. The only way you can beat peanut allergy with this affirmation is if you're gonna cut out the person bringing you peanuts. Allergies don't work that way. Amnesia, fear. If you can't recall your memories, I imagine yes, you're experiencing quite a lot of fear right now. It's pretty normal in that situation. Running from life. Inability to stand up for self. A lot of people that can't remember who they were would love nothing more than to have the memories that they have lost. They're not trying to run away from those memories. The only time you have that kind of amnesia is if you have, amnesia that is trauma-induced. Because in that case, your mind tries to forget in order to protect you from just breaking to pieces. I'm sorry, I skipped one. It is kind of funny. Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease isn't funny. Desire to leave the planet. Inability to face life assist. Yes, if you get Alzheimer's disease, it tends to progress. You tend to die. I am not entirely sure that that means that you actually want it to die. It's just how it ends. I'm gonna just skip past a lot of this and just point at you at a couple of funny ones because I think I made my point. We can just now read a couple of funny ones. Bad breath. Anger and revenge thoughts. Experiences backing up. Or, get this, teeth and stomach health. If you're having mouth problems, you're gonna have bad breath. If you have acid reflux and stomach problem, you're gonna have bad breath. Something to bring up with your doctor, not to ignore and trying to affirm yourself out of. Boldness, fear, attention, trying to control everything and not trusting in the process of life. The process of life being that your hair is falling out. Can fix that with cosmetic surgery, probably. Well, some people implant extra hair. You can wear wigs, or you can accept your new self. That is also an option. Birth defects cannot be fixed after birth. It's the thing that you're born with. Karmic! You selected to come out that way. We choose our parents. Let's just smack everybody with some good old generational trauma. Remember, kid, if your parents were abusive pieces of shit, you deserved it. Remember, kid, if you were born disabled, you deserved it. You must have been a very, very bad person in your previous life. Please don't internalize these thoughts. I'm being angry right now. I'm being angry at this list. That's what the sarcasm is. I don't mean it. It's not a thing that you should ever tell anyone. Going through severe adversarial happenings in your life that includes having a bad childhood, bad parents, being born with specific disabilities or diseases, it can make you grow as a person because you are faced with a lot more shit than other people are a lot earlier. You have to learn to deal with it. The way that you end up being emotionally as a person differs greatly from people that don't need to face all of these things. This doesn't mean that we should be like, oh, well, honey, you chose that journey. If you didn't have that part of the journey, it wouldn't be the kind of person that you are right now. These are not the kind of things that you can say to another person. It is not your place to say to another person. Would I have changed my very turbulent life? No, because I am as I am right now because of my very turbulent life and because of all the issues that I faced. Is it a good thing that I faced these things? Also, no. There could have probably been a more happier me that has grown up in a very nice environment and I had zero diseases or health issues or illnesses. I wouldn't be like, well, facing these things made me the kind of person that I am right now, so you, random citizen, you should experience it. You should experience overly mobile joints and issues with your digestive system and scoliosis. No! If we can treat these kind of things, if we could eradicate these kind of things off the planet, we should do that. If there was a child that is not born with scoliosis because of medical progress 100 years after I died, for example, that is a good thing. If we forget what that was, how that ever felt, that is a good thing. I would be happy if the future generation after me experiences better living than I did. What you should definitely not do is to just let your arms fall and go, well, it's karma, honey. You must have been just an awful person. That's why you were born sick. Or maybe you had to do some growing as a person. That's why you were born sick. You chose to be born sick. that is the kind of very negative thinking that's present in some very old systems, like the whole karma system is in Hinduism, pretty much. I also think Buddhism takes some of it. Question mark? Don't quote me on that. It's definitely present in some New Age thinking spaces and New Age spirituality spaces. We're blaming everyone's problems onto them themselves. And if you can't blame them onto them on what they did in this life, you blame it on some past life. It's a very harmful way of living. It is a very harmful state to put another human being in. Please do not do that. Let's just skip a lot of things. Very obvious red flags will be under, let me find it, cancer. What's eating at you? Cancer. Cancer's the thing that person is being eaten by. Deep hurt, secret, or grief, long-standing resentment, or, cancerous cells that just duplicated wrong because the human body is weird, yo. This is a less obvious thing. Depression, anger, and hopelessness. This is the kind of thing that a depressed person might actually have received being sent to them from their well-meaning relative, like this whole list. Like, oh, hey, honey, I found something that will help you. Because it's an affliction of the mind, so people go, oh, you just have to, be strong and overcome it. Just think positive thoughts. And sure, keeping yourself moving and keeping yourself doing, trying to pull yourself out of those states can help, but having these kind of lists sent by your well-meaning family members is not helpful for absolutely anyone. Let's just go straight to M. Menopause, by the way, happens to everybody. I'm gonna point that out. You can't positive think yourself out of menopause. If you're a woman and you live long enough, you're gonna experience menopause. Sorry to break it to you. Migraine headache. Sexual fears or fear of being close. Letting someone in too close or feeling driven or pressured. I think the statistic right now is something like 60% of all women suffer from migraines. The causes differ significantly. Hormones is a big contributory factor to it, hence why hormone migraines are quite common amongst women. I don't know, I haven't looked at the men's stats. I am sorry, fellow men. Stress. There are specific migraine triggers that you can identify that could help, like certain foods might trigger a migraine. What a migraine is, from how we understand it now, is like the inflammation of effectively the sac of the brain and the blood vessels that run alongside it. So it is an inflammatory process and can be set off by literally anything. Some people, it gets set off by the weather. It is not something that they can positive thinky thought out of. New treatments involve blocking a very specific inflammatory agent. I think that's the best way of naming it. I looked into it. It's mostly only available in the America because it's a trial thing. It works very well for some people. Not all migraines are the same, and therefore not all migraines are caused by that inflammatory agent. Botox in, parts of your head to affect blood vessels and muscles and therefore make you unable to contract them, and therefore they no longer contract automatically, seems to also help with that sort of thing. Once again, it's not a treatment that's available in my country. When people just go, oh, you must be afraid of sex. No, honey, I have a perfectly good sex life. I am married. I have a husband. When my sex life is impacted, normally that's when both of us are dealing with our chronic issues. And we both have quite a lot. But it isn't because of some sort of marital problems. And my migraines I had them from teenagehood because they're hormone related. I'm gonna have them well into menopause, and in fact, they're gonna get a lot worse at menopause. After that point, they might fix themselves, or they might get worse. Because for some people, after menopause, when hormones are no longer a factor, like I have read of one lady that was like, yeah, they now are happening because the weather changed. It is. Human body is amazing. It will take us a long time to fully comprehend it. Don't assign some sort of illogical reason that you just came off at the top of your head to like a real issue that people are suffering with, because this is the kind of minor issue that people will be like, oh, it's completely fine to send this, list to my family member because it sounds believable. It's an invisible illness, it's an invisible ache. You fully can believe that you can cure that with positive thinking thoughts. And if anything, having peace and having spirituality did actually help me with managing my migraines, even the really bad episodes, because it reduced the amount of stress in my life and it gave me something to hold on to when the attack gets pretty bad. But it's not like a physical migraine fix. It's not gonna fix the fact that I have fluctuating hormones, as that just comes with being a woman. And an affirmation is not gonna fix that. Something that everybody should be able to identify as being entirely and utter nonsensical is rabies. If you have rabies, it must be because you were a very angry person and you believed that the violence is the answer. It can't be that rabies kind of completely destroys your brain and therefore makes you feel very disoriented, out of place, and scared of water, among other things, and makes you entirely unaware of where you are and what's happening to you, and everything becomes very, very, very scary. If you guys want to dig into rabies, watch medical channels that describe us to the kind of emotional states that people go through when they have rabies. Rabies is kind of 100% fatal outside of the few people that manage to get put in a coma and survive it by tricking the virus into thinking that their brain was already dead. That's also not without side effects, for one thing, very fatal. You definitely can just not come out of that. But without it, it's kind of 100% fatal. Best way of avoiding rabies is to, get vaccinated against it the moment you get bitten by a wild animal. Like, treat it like tetanus. Just have that sorted, even if it was just a tiny nibble, like, oh, a bat flew by and it scratched me. Cool. See a doctor. Because if it didn't have rabies, nothing will happen. If it had rabies and you don't get that checked out, you're probably gonna be dead in like a month when the disease stops incubating inside you. So yeah, it's definitely don't just like sit there and going, a bat has scratched me, let me think positive thoughts. And this is where we're gonna end it here. I gave you examples of things that make absolutely no sense. I gave you examples of the kind of things that people might fall for. I am a spiritual person. I practice spirituality, practice occult. You could even say that I practice magical thinking. Any kind of spell casting, magical thinking, occult, or spirituality, it should be backed up by you actually doing real world things to get better. And you should be careful to not replace your real life and the way that you approach things with spirituality. A lot of people fall down this rabbit hole and then it becomes nothing but a toxic element on their life. It doesn't help them. It's not a magical cure. It shouldn't be seen as a magical cure. It should be a way of seen as a way of facing your life better. It should be seen as a way of gaining some peace and affirming yourself and motivating yourself and even aligning the circumstances by the sheer force of your will. Just don't replace real life world things with magical thinking. That will lead you absolutely nowhere good. And when something extraordinary happens, please investigate mundane reasons first. It's quite a lot of people that will be like, hey, I gotten, that was actually a real thing. I've gotten hemorrhoids after I received a gift from a person that had hemorrhoids like 20 or so years ago. Is it possible that they have cursed the gift to give me hemorrhoid? No, you just got hemorrhoids. But these two things happen very close to one another. Well, yes, and you could have gotten hit by a car after witnessing a leaf fall down from the tree. It doesn't mean that the leaf falling down from the tree has caused you to get hit by a car. Please apply some logic to the way that you conduct yourself, and please don't be mean to your sick relatives that you know about by sending them these kind of lists. They might seem all nice and well-meaning, but not very helpful with anything. And you should know better. That was the precise point of this whole video. I hope that I put out what I wanted to put out in a way that you can pick up what I'm putting down. I hope that you're not like very confused about what I've been talking about, and I hope that you're not one of those people that would be like, but Mirta, what's wrong with trying to treat rabies with anger management? Because if you are these kind of people, then we really need to start teaching you from the germ theory and how medicine has progressed since the medieval ages in accepting four humors being in balance system and, bloodletting in order to try and cure you of having diarrhea. You skipped a lot of medical progress if you want to treat rabies with anger management. And I'm not the person to teach you. Please go pick up a couple books. Regular school curriculum might actually be helpful at this point. I'm just assuming that you're not that kind of person and that I don't need to try and explain to you all of the things that have happened in the past 100 years that you haven't just fallen down from the sky. I assume that you're smart in that, and I hope I'm not wrong. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you're gonna take away anything from this, is please be critical of your sources. Please be critical of the sources of even the people that you trust, even that have written some good works before. Please try and find some sort of logic inside what you're doing and see how it relates to things. Even in spell work, when we're doing spell work, we are relating spell ingredients to the kind of spell that we're trying to cast. For example, lavender's calming. Oh, camomile's calming. I want to bring in more sunshine into my life. What kind of metal looks the most sunny? Gold. It's the associations tend to make sense. And this is going a bit above that. And also make sure that the statements that are given are substantiated and backed up. For example, who has cured themselves of rabies with anger management? I would love to know that. Please. Citation, please. And yeah, if you, like me, have been bombarded by such well-meaning things from your family, or sometimes even doctors that really don't want to invest money into you, and it's like, hey, have you tried positive thinking for pain management? I am so very sorry that you had to go through with that, and I hope that one day your people understand all that you're going through in life, preferably without having to experience the same things themselves. Because it does hit you pretty hard if, like, they tried to cure your cancer through the power of positive thinking and then got cancer, and the power of positive thinking did not work out. It gets them to rethink what they have been doing, but it is not a nice way of getting there. So I hope that that's not how they reach that point, as to where they're practicing some empathy and understanding and experiencing in how the world works. I hope that it's not like through first-hand account and first-hand experience, because that's it's a you don't wish bad upon others. It's not a you don't wish the kind of things that you went through that others would go through ever. Honestly, if you have gone through some shit, you normally don't go, oh, I wish I was understood, so I wish that everybody could experience what I experienced. You kind of just wish to be understood. So I just hope that all of you are blessed by better families and better friends and doctors that don't take like 3 weeks and 3 separate appointments to convince that there is actually something physically wrong with you and that you can't just think it away. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. This is a cult and gaming channel. I cover occult subjects, occult adjacent subjects, I would like to say. I find that New Age thinking is kind of occult adjacent because it kind of falls into the whole bag of spirituality. So this kind of felt like the kind of thing that I can talk about, and gaming. I do gaming on this channel. I have since I was 16. That has been 14 years ago. Gaming has always been a staple of my life, and it always will be a staple of my life. It has been with me through the bad times and through the goods. What can I say? I like experiencing stories as interactive media. I tend to do a lot of other things outside of gaming. I tend to read books, I tend to go for a walk, I tend to paint, I tend to take photographs. I have a large and diverse amount of hobbies. To me, it's not really an escape, but it is something that I enjoy doing. And hence why it leaked into my channel, and it is not a part that I'm going to be removing from my channel. So if you enjoy gaming, or if you enjoy the occult, feel free to subscribe. Know that you're going to be putting up with both. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'm hoping I'm going to see you in my other videos. Toodaloo.